This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom, what do you think about Carr signing with the New Orleans Saints and how that affects your Falcons in that division?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Well, I mean, David Carr's had his big days in the NFL, and he's still got some tread on his tires, but it's not like, Drew Brees coming back to the Saints in his prime. So we'll deal with it. The Saints, credit to them, they've been a pretty strong organization, or they were all the years under Sean Payton. And we'll see. I mean, I like the way my Falcons battled back against the odds last year, so it should be a good battle next year.
It's a big week for SEC basketball, Tom, and before we get into the tournament action, I want to ask you about the All-SEC selections, Arkansas with 3 of them. What did you think about the awards, most notably the coach and the player of the year and co-coach of the year that were divvied out yesterday?
Well, exactly what you're getting to is, the debate over what do you think of Nate Oates, his handling of the situation with his team that was involved in the Janae Harris situation, and the fact that Brandon Miller continued to play. The incident was on January 15th with the murder, and nothing happened at the time. And then when the public became aware of the testimony that the handgun was in Brandon Miller's vehicle, then, basically an outcry. And so I think it's a good debate whether or not he should have been. And the coaches just decided then, not so much on Nate Oates. Honestly, if in a coach's mind, you could say, well, Buzz Williams' team was picked way down and Jerry Stackhouse's team has won 8 of their last 9. They're legit candidates to win Coach of the Year. And so I think you can, in your mind, you can rationalize those 2 guys. Now, Miller, I talked to a lot of guys in the last week about Brandon Miller, and the thing is this. There wasn't any other super standout guy from one of the best teams. Like you could say Wade Taylor, A&M. Well, was he really the best player in the league? He's a really good player. I like him. I like Tyrese Radford about as much at A&M. But what about the other contenders? Tennessee, nobody had super stats. You see Santiago Vescovi on the first team, but he wasn't the best player in the SEC. Oscar Tshiebwe, I don't think he deserved to be a repeat winner of the most valuable player in the SEC. So Brandon Miller, I think, was the best player in the SEC. So it came down to what you thought personally of him and his decision as a teenager to do what he did. The coaches obviously were okay and did that. And then the writers, the AP poll will come out today, and we'll see what they do. It's interesting. It's a reverse of how it used to be when the AP voters in football could vote for teams that were on probation, like Auburn in '93, and there's many other examples. Mm-hmm. And the AP voters weren't restricted from voting for teams, and they did. And now in this case, there's not a restriction on voting for Brandon Miller, and then the coaches did it. And what will the writers have a more strong statement today than the coaches? And we'll find out.
Tom, you mentioned the overall players in the Southeastern Conference. When you look at some of these teams and what they have, is there anyone that you're really confident in heading into the SEC tournament outside of Alabama?
Well, I mean, A&M has proven it. I've done a couple of notes during the course of the year in my weekly report that at the end of last year, when they beat Arkansas in the tournament, got to the championship game, I think they won maybe 4 of the last 5 or something like that. And now this year, here they are. How many conference losses did they have? Was it 3 conference losses?
Yeah, Arkansas. 3.
Yeah, so they won 15 out of 18, and then at the end of last year, it was like the last 4 or 5. So they're on an incredible tear against SEC competition, and they're not super impressive offensively, but they're really tenacious defensively. They rebound well. They are connected. And I looked at the Texas A&M site, post beating Alabama Saturday, and you see quotes from Buzz Williams and players just about how they're a connected team and they love each other, and I do think that stands for something. Same things can't come out of Missouri. after their win over Ole Miss. But I like A&M's, the components of their team. They look to be relatively healthy. You know, you worry for a team like Tennessee, still trying to get over Zakai Ziegler's injury. Will they have the guard depth? And at this stage, I'd say that's questionable. And otherwise, I mean, Kentucky's rounding into shape, but they've got to get a true point guard back. I was in their post-game Saturday, and John Calipari mentioned that they kind of played positionless basketball, and what you just saw was a lot of cutting and screening on the perimeters, and it wasn't like one guy's job to bring the ball up. It moved around. And so teams that have really super guard play could give Kentucky problems with ball handling as they move forward. But they're a team that could win tournament games as well. And then, you know, Arkansas. I think if the components come together, they rebound well. And to me, they got to just get their big men back into the scoring deal. Then they would have a chance to be a team you worry about in the postseason.
What's happened with the Mitchell twins, Tom? We're talking with Tom Murkey of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports. Their impact has not been there the last few games.
You know, I don't know if it's a direct result of Nick Smith being back and then just less opportunities. But when Arkansas was kind of rolling there for a couple of weeks, it was those guys were setting picks and then rolling to the basket, and there was some uncontested dunks and things. And Mekhi Mitchell has had his moments of, you know, scoring the first 6 or 8 of Arkansas's first 10 or 12 points in many games. And I think it's incumbent upon Arkansas to find ways to get them going earlier, because neither one of them has been much of a big scorer in recent games. I know that Mekhi Mitchell scored 10. It was the game he made the jumper from the free throw line. And I can't remember if it was Georgia or Florida or one of those games, but they've got to get back to getting those guys involved. I think it helps them on the defensive end with their shot blocking, and also Jalen Graham. You've got a scoring weapon on your bench. Yes, he's not a defensive strong point, but there might be some game where you need to outscore someone, and he's got more low post moves than anybody who's been around in a while. I've never quite seen a guy with a combination at his height, 6'9", kind of skinny, that's got scoops and one-handed, you know, push shots and all kind of little baby hooks. It's really fun to watch him play offensively.
So you mentioned A&M being a team that can maybe make some noise, and you're talking about Arkansas kind of coming together. What do you think of the Razorbacks' draw, not just against Auburn Thursday night, but their setup the rest of the way in Nashville?
Well, you know, you're going to have to go through tough teams, and so they're in the 7-10, which puts them against A&M, right? Second, yeah,
correct. Yes.
So Auburn game, you know, that was one of the so early in the season, in the conference season, and it was one of the games where they got behind and they didn't really catch up too well. So the Razorbacks will be laying for Auburn, which has been an up and down team in recent days. I think Arkansas, and I saw on your program notes, they played the toughest schedule in the SEC. They just did. They played all 4 of the teams that got double byes twice.
Isn't that wild?
No one else did that. So I just think that on a different subject, they're a tournament. They're an NCAA tournament team. Their net ranking is 18. Their strength of schedule is 3. They've had the injury component, and I think they're a marquee type team that the selection committee wants to put in the tournament.
Yeah, I think the past success that they've had has really helped them on that. All right, Tom, one more basketball question, but not what's going on in Fayetteville, what's going on potentially in Oxford, Mississippi. Chris Beard, reportedly from Ole Miss Spirit, is being talked to by their administration. Keith Carter, who's an Arkansas guy, about their potential head coaching vacancy. Is that a wise move for Ole Miss to hire Chris Beard and everything that goes along with him?
Well, for starters, as a head coach of your basketball team, your team is better. Your team has a personality, and that's toughness. We saw what Texas did to Arkansas in the exhibition game. Probably a really good wake-up call for the Razorbacks back then. I just think that the people who make the decisions have to determine, are we okay with this? I know those charges were dropped, but he's an intense guy, and it wouldn't surprise me if Chris Beard and his people have said, I've gone to counseling or what have you, and I'm ready to go. And if the people who make the decisions are okay with who they feel Chris Beard is as a person, then certainly Ole Miss's program would be a stronger, entity than they were this season.
Talking with Tom Murphy this morning, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette and Whole Hog Sports. Tom, let's go to Baum-Walker Stadium in about, 7 hours from now. We'll get Arkansas and Army taking on each other. Parker Coyle on the mound today. Midweek game-wise, I know people always enjoy these. We gave away some tickets earlier in the show. The fact that you haven't played a service academy in 20-some-odd years is pretty cool. What do you think about Army coming into town today, Tom?
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. They're going to have Military Appreciation Day, a supersized flag. They're going to have some veterans out there. They're going to honor the military, and Arkansas is going to have camo caps. So
cool.
That's all cool. Now, as for gameplay, I asked Dave Van Horn yesterday what he'd like to see out of Coyle, and he's like 3 or 4 innings max. Challenge, make the hitters be challenged, okay? Come at them. He says that when Coyle has pitched in recent games, he comes in and he's not pitching, freely, just letting the ball go, and he starts out with his velocity around 86, and then after he settles in, a few batters, he gets it up to 89, 90, where he's supposed to be. So it's a confidence thing. I mean, Zach Morris, Dave Van Horn mentioned yesterday that he was a little sore, and maybe, how much had they talked about that before? And so they've got to get Zach Morris back going. But it's clear if they're going to be without Cody Frank and Brady Tigert for a while, that other pitchers who you might not have counted on for as much have got to come through. And this is a great opportunity for Coyle. I mean, Dylan Carter, a couple other guys, Cody Adcock pitched better on Sunday. They've got to find ways to be able to use more pitchers.
Doors wide open. It's just a matter of who opens it and takes it. Tom, we appreciate your time this morning, man. Enjoy the baseball game later on today. Big basketball week, not just for Arkansas, but other SEC and other conference teams. And we'll see what happens on Selection Sunday, and we'll talk to you on Thursday.
That's good, man. Spring football coming, too. See y'all.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts.